right, as before, we got a graph, we want the equation. We need the parameters of amplitude, midline, period, phase shift, all of that involves the window of one cycle. So if we can get one cycle nailed down, we can get all the information we need to write the equation. So it comes down to the box. So if I grab a box and start working to try to find a good box here, I need to find a cycle. Now I could make a cycle like this, starting over here. And let's see if there we go. So I got a cycle. I'm starting at the bottom of the box, ending at the bottom of the box. There's a complete cycle inside of here. So I got a window and I can find all the information I need. However, this particular window is basing a window that is shifted to the left. So I have a horizontal shift left that's going to make my equation slightly more difficult to create. I could make another box here, and that would be a cosine wave because it starts at the top and ends at the top. But it too has a horizontal shift. It's over to the left, and it's not wrong to build the equation off of this box. But if I put my window and get one complete cycle right on the y-axis, that means the horizontal shift is 0. So strategically, this box here is going to be easier for me to create my equation. So I had lots of choices, but I'm choosing this one because I want it to go a little smoother. And so now I have to analyze all the information around that box. So first of all, what is the midline? Okay, well, the middle of the box is the midline. The bottom is at 0. The top is at 1. The midline is right here. It is the line y equals 1/2. And so, since the midline has been shifted up from 0, the entire graph is shifted up from 0. So I have a vertical shift equaling to 1/2. Next is the period. No, let's do amplitude next. So the amplitude is the half height. What's the half height from the top to the midline? Well, it's a half. Also half, just a coincidence they're the same number. But next, the period. What is the period? The period is 2 pi. Now that was my strategic advantage of having a start. X equals 0. That was my start. And x equals 2 pi. That was my end. So these x's made it easy for me to calculate the period. If I take the end minus the start, I get the period. I should say period here. So easy period because I started at 0. Let's see, what else do we need? Phase shift. Well, also easy because we set up the box to have no phase shift. One more thing. What is the wave? And in this case, is the wave a sine or a cosine? Well, you could say neither. But if it were a sine waves have this characteristic. They're always going to be on the midline. Start on the midline, middle in the midline, end at the midline. And this wave is not doing that. This is starting at the bottom, ending at the bottom. Now a cosine normally starts on the top. And that actually is what we're dealing with here, except the cosine has been reflected. So we'll have to remember that later on when we start to create our equation. The basic equation, y equals a cosine bx plus c plus d is what we need now. So all we need is the ABCD numbers. Okay. Easy things first. Amplitude. Since we know the amplitude is a half, true or false? A equals 1/2. Well, I hope you're thinking false, because we have to remember that this one has been reflected. So the amplitude is a half, yes, but the A number is negative 1/2. That accounts for the reflection. So we'll use that in our equation. The vertical shift we have. Vertical shift is directly related to D. So D is 1/2. So we have 2 out of our 4 parameters all figured out. Period is not B, and B is not shown in the box. The box does not give us the B number. That's unlike A and D. We have to work for the B number, but we do have a formula. Period equals 2 pi. Period has a formula, 2 pi over B, and that's 2 pi. So that one, I think the algebra is pretty easy. You could see almost right away, but you can multiply and divide if you need to, but intuitively I hope you can see everything cancels. And we're going to get B has to equal 1. So one more parameter. Now, since there is no phase shift, we started at x equals 0. Intuitively, you may realize, oh, c equals 0. I'm just going to reinforce that algebraically, though. Phase shift has a formula, negative c over b. And the picture tells us phase shift equals 0. And when we plug in b, b is 1, negative c over 1, then we get c by itself. Well, if you multiply by negative 1, it's all going to cancel, and we get 0 equals c. And now we've got all 4 parameters. So we just figured out the equation of this graph. Y equals negative 1/2 cosine of b. B is 1 times x. C is 0 plus 1/2. And if you had doubts about your equation, just like on the one before, I didn't mention it then, but you could put that in your calculator, make your calculator window match the window that's in the given graph, and see if the graphs come out the same. But we got it, we're done.